Hola, muy buenos días. ¿Me están escuchando? Excelente, muy bien. Bueno, pues estaremos comenzando, colegas, el día de hoy con el panel Maxi. Welcome to the Maxi panel this afternoon or evening, even when the audience is attending this panel. Welcome you all to this new topic in the conference, the Knowledge City World Summit. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And I have Maxi presentation for you. Some of you do not know what is the Maxi Awards. So I'm going to attempt this presentation. Just let me know, and please let me know out loud because I'm not going to be able to read the chat. So if you allow me your voice in the StreamYard, can you see the screen, please? Please let me know if you are looking at the presentation.
No, we cannot see your screen.
Okay. I'm sharing the screen, but it might be a technicality. I don't know if you can actually use the presentation and assist me on presenting. Thank you, Sue Ellen. Thank you. Okay. Can we start in presentation mode, Sue Ellen, please? Or is that the mode you're going to be able to use? Okay, I think we can start with it. So this is the Maxi panel, and we're going to talk about Maxi as the International Consultation on Knowledge Cities. This is the special topic for this panel in this year's conference. Please, next. The Most Admired Knowledge City Awards, or Maxi, is an international consultation exercise aiming to exchange perspectives of cities or urban communities that are actually putting in practice what we call initiatives of knowledge-based development. And Maxi, as the awards for knowledge cities, seeks to reach consensus and to identify and recognize those communities, urban communities around the world, who are successfully engaging in formal and systematic development processes under the flag of knowledge cities. Next. This is what we're going to check a bit. We're going to check what is the focus of Maxi and the phases and places that we have visited along these years. Maxi in this year is going to turn 14 years of being present in the knowledge-based development arena. Next, please. Maxi was born of two brains. He's the brainchild of the Make Awards, who are the Most Admired Knowledge Enterprise Awards, and they had a Maxi technique called Delphi technique. And it's also the brainchild of the generic system of capitals. Both of those methodologies combined gave way to what we know today as Maxi, the Most Admired Knowledge City Awards. We used 3 rounds of consensus in a panel of experts, and they exchange different perspectives of what a knowledge city initiative can be. The final round determines the results of the exercise. Next, please. We are talking about the generic systems of capital. It is property of the World Capital Institute, who is our gracious host in this conference, and is actually the organization that actually gave way to the Knowledge Cities World Summit as well. This World Capital Institute had this generic capital systems as a methodology with 8 basic criteria: identity capital, intelligence capital, financial capital, relational capital, human individual capital, human collective capital, instrumental material capital, and instrumental knowledge capital. Those are the 8 basic criteria, the basic dimensions of what we call the generic capital system. This is what gave way to a number of intelligent questions that actually create the Maxi nomination form. Next, please. Okay, to give a little bit of a better explanation of those capitals, identity and intelligence capitals are referential capitals, which are definitely the ones who give way to the background of the knowledge capitals, and we call them meta capitals. Also, meta capitals are the capitals in articulation, which is the relational capital, which refers to social integration and cohesion, and the articulation capital as financial and economic sustainability. The human capitals come in individual base and collective base, and both of them actually give strong criteria for what is known as the productive capital of the system. And finally, we call instrumental capitals both the tangible capital and the intangible capital, which is, of course, both natural and created, human created. We're going to consider this as the capitals that are used by the agent capital or productive capital to actually create wealth. We call it wealth in general. And some of them are natural, which is not only the mountains and rivers or all the natural infrastructure, but also what is man-made, just as telecommunications or bridges and buildings and all of that. The intangibles are, of course, systems created in non-electronic or electronic repositories and mainly referred to knowledge created in that way. Next, please. And just to make here a point, we have 3 rounds for this consensus exercise, and we receive city nominations, and then we vote for city finalists, and then for the winner cities. And we have now 4 categories. I don't know if the 2 of them will appear next, but we have knowledge metropolis, knowledge city regions, knowledge emerging city regions, and clustered knowledge city regions. Next, please. Okay, we also have a Maxi cycle. In general, we start the exercise even in November, like today, because we finish up as a Maxi cycle with the Knowledge City World Summit Conference, and we start the invitations and the convocations to the next year's exercise. So the exercise starts in January, February, and you are all invited today to contribute to the 2022 Maxi exercise. It goes all year round because we do data analysis and report preparation, and we get ready for October or even November for the Maxi Award presentation. Next, please. And we have also a number of actors in the Maxi team that actually participate in different stages of the exercise. Next, please. I have to just mention that we are in different areas around the world. We have networks in many continents. Next, please. We can see the map. These are some of the networks that we actually are linked to, which go from Latin America to the northern and the south of Europe. And of course, we also have an Asian and Australasian network. Next, please. We will see the map, and we are still lacking of contacts in Africa, but we are already improving in that way. We have some representatives of Africa in these days. Next, please. And which are the places we have been? Well, it's a small list, but as I mentioned, it's been over 13 years of exercise, and we have been visiting both physically and also virtually in different places, which are some of the Maxi winners along the years. We can mention all this, which are the actual finalist cities during the exercise till 2019, which was actually the last exercise we did before the contingency and the pandemic. Next, please. And I don't want to spoil the surprise. I want to introduce right now to the 3 panelists that have accepted graciously the invitation to participate in this Latin American panel. And I want to announce that Arequipa, Peru, represented by Dr. Glenn Arce, won the Maxi Award in 2017 in the category of first place of Emerging Knowledge City Region. And he is going to tell us about the experience of participating in the award and also being the host for this conference in virtual and presence mode. He will be the first one to introduce us to the Maxi case of Arequipa in Peru. Next, please. And we have also invited 2 winners in the 2019 exercise. And we will have, of course, our well-known Bento Gonçalves case, and also the Cluster Knowledge City case. Next, please. We will invite Dr. Eliot Flores to present us with the Puerto Rico case, which was actually a category that was introduced the year before. And it was the first year that some people participated as the Clustered Knowledge City Region category. Puerto Rico won this Maxi Award in 2019. Next, please. And last but not least, we're going to invite our host, Dr. Ana Cristina Facchinelli, to also talk about the experience of being in the Maxi Awards. She has been a longer time than our rest of colleagues in the Maxi endeavors, and in reality, in all the Knowledge City World Summit tasks that we have been performing since long time ago. So I think Ana will also talk about not only the experience of winning the Maxi Award for Bento Gonçalves in 2019, but also the experience of being one of the iconic places in the region. Next, please. This is a bit of the impact and some recorded influences of the Maxi. Next, please. And we thank you for being here. And I give the floor first to Glenn Arce so that he starts telling us the story behind Arequipa as a Maxi winner. You speak, Glenn, and I will translate a bit in English for our English-only speaking audience. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Blanca. Realmente es un placer estar nuevamente con todos ustedes. Y en primer lugar, quisiera transmitirles el saludo de todas las autoridades de nuestra universidad y también de nuestra ciudad de Arequipa, que recuerdan con mucho algarabía 2017 que estuvimos todos aquí en mi ciudad blanca.
Déjame traducir un poco, Glenn. Glenn is saying that he is very happy and thrilled to be here because he still remembers all the emotion and capacities developed in the 2017 event that was organized in the city of Arequipa, along with the Maxi Award for that city. Adelante, Glenn.
El reto que tuvimos ya en la universidad para poder trabajar, sobre todo en este desarrollo basado en conocimiento, data cuando estuvimos en Monterrey, en México. Se nos prendió el foquito, como decimos aquí, y queríamos, de todos modos, que este premio Maxi se realice en Arequipa. Y bueno, comenzamos a conversar con las autoridades políticas y universitarias para poder lograrlo.
Thank you. I'll translate, Glenn. Glenn is saying that, yes, the Maxi Awards, along with all the entailing participation in the Knowledge City Summit, was a challenge for him and for the team that was actually acquired when they visited for the first Knowledge City World Summit in Monterrey. It was actually taking place in Monterrey, and they took the bug, they say, right? And they got enthused by all the effervescence of this first conference, and they took the challenge to take not only the conference, but the actual Maxi Award task for Arequipa since then. We're talking about 2007, because that was the date where the Monterrey conference was done. First, he had to convoke the university authorities, and the story goes. Listo, Glenn.
Y bueno, los logros que tuvimos en esa fecha es que realmente convencimos y se comprometieron el alcalde de Arequipa y nuestras autoridades de la universidad para llevar a cabo un centro de investigación que se ocupe de estas dos líneas de investigación: economía basada en el conocimiento y desarrollo basado en conocimiento. Lo logramos, tal es así que en el año 2016 comenzamos a hacer un trabajo de investigación conjuntamente con el equipo de World Capital Institute, representado por el doctor Javier Carrillo, doctora Blanca, Ana Cristina, y pudimos ver realmente cómo estaba nuestra ciudad de Arequipa.
Okay, very interesting. He's saying that, yes, he actually convinced and got the commitment of the university authorities, and also the collaboration of the mayor of Arequipa, which was really important as an alliance. And through all this collaboration, they actually put to work a dedicated research center to work on topics such as the economy, knowledge-based economy, and the knowledge-based development. This was a very strong point to actually start in 2016, a year before the conference, to work on these topics. And yes, he's also saying that he not only got all these local collaborations, he also developed a research team in collaboration with the WCI, the World Capital Institute, led by Dr. Javier Carrillo. I hope he's around here, yes. And Ana Cristina, of course. And yes, myself, I was around there. So yes, Glenn, continue, please. Continúa, Glenn.
Gracias. Bueno, Arequipa en el 2017 y tanto mi país estábamos en una situación económica bastante favorable. Teníamos un boom minero que apoyó muchísimo a dar todo el apoyo. Tal es así que a partir de ese trabajo también logramos llegar a realizar la cumbre mundial el año 2017, los premios Maxi. Y bueno, hasta esa fecha nosotros solo teníamos entendido que existían las ciudades y regiones más admiradas del conocimiento. nunca supimos que había un premio para ciudades emergentes. Y nosotros trabajamos muchísimo y hicimos el diagnóstico en el que veíamos mucho potencial en nuestra Arequipa, potencial sobre todo en el capital identidad. A modo de broma, si me permites, Arequipa es reconocida como otro país, la ciudad blanca por el sillar que tienes. Y bueno, ese regionalismo que tenemos acá, pues nos hace sentir muy orgullosos.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Glenn. He's saying that, well, they got into the task of creating the Maxi nomination, and he says they were not really aware that a new category was put for cities as Arequipa, which are called now the emergent knowledge-based cities. And he's also recalling that they worked very hard to put on a nomination, a Maxi nomination for Arequipa as a knowledge city region. And they consider they had several capitals as a strong points of the nomination, such as the identity capital. He's saying that they are recognized as a country within a country because they have very specific characteristics. They are the white city, for instance, and there's a strong regionalism that are, a part of the identity capital that Arequipa is showing. Adelante, Glenn.
Gracias. Y bueno, nos dimos con la sorpresa que Arequipa fue nominada a este premio Ciudad Emergente más admirable y conocimiento y realmente fue algo que nos llenó de mucho orgullo y le gustó mucho a nuestro alcalde, que lastimosamente no pudo estar presente, pero sí 2 días después de terminar la cumbre conversamos con él y él estaba interesadísimo en impulsar para que seguir avanzando en este tema. Nuestras autoridades también. Y uno de los grandes logros creo que se formó es que antes del 2017 éramos en la universidad solo 3 personas interesadas en esta línea de investigación. Hoy día puedo decirlo con orgullo, somos más de 50. La línea de investigación ya ha sido incorporada dentro de, con resolución del Consejo Universitario como una línea de investigación dentro de la universidad y es quizás una de las más importantes. Otro logro también es que ya tenemos estudiantes que han podido graduarse con artículos indexados justamente con este tipo de trabajos basados en desarrollo basado en conocimiento.
Wow, Glenn, this is something I really need to say slowly. Lo voy a decir despacio, Glenn, porque es de mucho orgullo. Glenn is trying to communicate that, yes, they were working on the knowledge-based development initiative for Arequipa, and they created the Maxi nomination. And then they embraced the Emergent Knowledge City Award. And in fact, because, as you know, lately they won the award in that category, he's saying that they made us really proud. They were so proud, all of them, the collaborators for both the conference and the nomination. The mayor was not present during the Maxi Awards presentation, but as they communicated it to him later, days later after the actual conference and awarding, he decided to, promote this kind of initiative within the city. And there's a lot to say of what the actual impacts are in not only in the university but in the city. But he's saying, for instance, that within the university in 2017 there were only 3 people, researchers, moving into the knowledge-based development line of research. 3 people in 2017, and he's saying proudly that today there are more than 50 people following this line of research in the university, and that a number of students have already graduated from postgraduate degrees that have actually published in journals, indexed journals, in the topic of knowledge-based development. So that is quite an achievement considering the circumstances not so long ago. Thank you, Glenn. Continue, please. Continue.
Bueno, hasta ahí la parte bonita, y ahora viene la parte que está mega feita. Lastimosamente entró otro gobernador regional y lastimosamente todo lo avanzado en nuestra ciudad pues no lo hizo bien, y es más, está acusado por corrupción. Ya se vienen nuevas elecciones, esperamos que nuestro nuevo representante pues sea una persona que realmente también retome este proyecto y lo sigamos adelante. En cuanto al alcalde, también cambió, y bueno, sí el apoyo, pero no llegamos a sintonizar con el gobierno regional y fue un proyecto que se quedó un poquito paralizado, que esperamos retomarlo al próximo año con los nuevos representantes.
Okay. Well, as Glenn is saying, there's not only good news, but also bad news. And he's talking about the political arena that surrounded all these advancements. He's saying that the governor of the state in Arequipa was changed, and the new one had a bad operation, a bad functioning, and he's even accused of corruption and all those issues. There's a new governor representative coming next year, so they hope to put this behind. And also the mayor of the city was changed, and the new one was sympathetic with the knowledge-based development environment, but didn't really support as much as the previous mayor all these initiatives. But he's saying that this is something that they will actually undertake again next year when political changes in the political arena will be more prone and positive. Thank you, Glenn. Adelante.
Y bueno, y tenemos muchas esperanzas en que realmente estos gobernantes cambien y sean para bien. Y bueno, entre la universidad seguimos impulsando el tema de desarrollo basado en conocimiento, y ojalá, o sea, otro de los objetivos que nos estamos planteando, no en un corto plazo, de repente de acá 2 o 3 años, volver a ser sede de la cumbre mundial, ¿no? Y ojalá nos los permitan, y ya como esta pandemia se está acabando, pues poderlo hacer presencialmente, que creo que es una fiesta intelectual bastante linda y de la cual sacamos provecho absolutamente todos, ¿no? O sea, todos provecho en el sentido de que la riqueza intelectual crece y llegamos a convencer más gente que realmente es una línea que debemos seguir trabajando. Y también los empresarios están convencidos de ello, pero necesitamos otra dosis de un panel en el que, pues en forma presencial, estemos junto con los empresarios y toda la comunidad, pues expresando estos pensamientos.
Sí, es correcto, Glenn. He's saying that, well, we are hoping that the political arena changes in terms of the government representatives for the better in the next year, and that would definitely will put the university in a better place to give an impulse, a thrust to the KBD agenda. And he's also saying that he would like to put into plan to become also the host for another edition of the Knowledge City World Summit in the future, because yes, it is a big celebration of different knowledges, different capitals, and indeed all of us have enjoyed and could profit of having a new conference in Arequipa with the presential feature, because virtual conferences are very good, especially during this contingency. But we aim to also go back to the presence mode for this conference. Adelante, Glenn, si quieres, ya nos despedimos.
Ok, perfecto. Sí. Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, todos los muchachos que han estado trabajando en esta línea de investigación me han pedido que los salude afectuosamente. A ti, Blanca, Ana Cristina, a Javier, Gilberto, que los recuerdan realmente muchísimo. Un fuerte abrazo virtual a cada uno de ustedes y será hasta una próxima. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Glenn. Glenn is saying that he thanks everyone, and that especially he brings a word from the students that we actually remember dearly because they were very participative and eager to learn these new topics for them. And we actually say yes, thank you for all the participation and the team, and again, Dr. Carrillo and Ana and the people around. That conference in 2017 are actually saying hello to everyone in this new edition. So thank you, Glenn. Thank you for your participation. Great news that you bring to us today. Thank you.
Gracias.
Now we invite to the floor, to this virtual floor, to Dr. Eliot Flores. Yes. Hello. Welcome, Eliot.
How are you guys doing?
Welcome to this panel. I'm glad you made it, Eliot, and thank you for your time and your energy and your participation in more than one edition of the Knowledge Cities World Summit. We've been acquainted with you for a while, and we are very, very happy to have you here today with the Puerto Rican case. I would like you to start and tell us a story. We don't have a lot of time. We have like around 18 to 20 minutes. But I mean, you're fluent in English, so we won't have to translate. So it might be more fluid. But tell us about your experience. I mentioned not only maybe in Tenerife, but even before when you got linked to our network. Welcome, Eliud, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Blanca, and thank you, everyone. Actually, you made me go through memory lane, and I actually started researching. Thank God I never delete my emails because I was able to go way back. And this actually begins over 10 years ago when I went to Vienna for a knowledge management conference. And there I met a certain guy, some of you may know, called Gunther Koch. And Gunther and I became instant friends, and there were so few of us researching knowledge management at the time here in Puerto Rico, and he became a really good mentor. And because of that, I brought him over to Puerto Rico a couple years later, and I organized a couple events here in Puerto Rico related to knowledge management, and we had the fortune to be able to bring him as speaker. And at that point, he reacted to that, and I actually found an email he wrote to me back in February of actually St. Valentine's Day, February 14, 2018. And he was struck by the idea of knowledge islands that he called, and he was so impressed by that he said in his email it was triggered by his experience visiting Puerto Rico and also the knowledge he had of other islands like Hawaii, Malta, Greek islands, and the Canary Islands. I'm reading here actually from his email back in 2018 that he impressed that idea onto the KCWS people, and they made Knowledge Islands the topic of the 2018 conference for Tenerife. And at that point, he wrote to me and he invited me to submit a paper. And Gunther is a guilty party here of having me establish this as a research line. I am a tenured professor at the Graduate School of Information Science and Technology, but in addition to that, I always have two hats, and I am also an entrepreneur. And I've been involved in the information technology business for the last 25 years. And I have my own company and do consulting in knowledge management and adoption and change management, basically helping people to change the way they work with technology. So I took an interest to that, and the first thing I wanted to do was to study the innovation ecosystem on the island, which was really, I knew it by accident in a way, just because I was an entrepreneur myself. But when I started researching it, I realized the good, the bad, and the ugly of whatever was happening there. And I formalized a paper which was admitted and presented at the KCWS. In fact, there I presented two papers, one specifically on Puerto Rico as island of knowledge, but at that time concentrated on the ecosystem of to encourage entrepreneurship and the programs to prepare entrepreneurs and whatnot. And then a second paper on the pharma industry, which was very, very important in Puerto Rico in the 60s and 70s, but it had kind of depressed a little bit after we lost some of the incentives from the government for those pharma companies. So I started that, but I decided to stay on that. And then Blanca invited me also around September of 2019 to submit the case of Puerto Rico for the Maxi. And I asked, what the hell is Maxi? Well, I had seen some of those prizes back in Tenerife, so I was intrigued by that. And we literally had very little time to prepare that case because we received that notice around the 30th of September, and we had to turn it in by the 8th of October. So it was really, really busy. But we took hold of whatever research we had done before and did some more. And the good thing about the Maxi Awards is that that model is very well designed. It has so many variables, and it makes you take a magnifying glass to whatever is happening in your country and to become more aware of everything that's happening or that would impact your evaluation in that regard. So we did submit the case of Puerto Rico on the 8th of October, and then by November we had the fortune of drinking fresh caipirinhas over at our beautiful Floripa island, Florianopolis, and we received the award on November the 4th. So in a nutshell, that's a story. Let me stop that and have you make some questions so that I don't keep going, because I have a couple more things that I'd like to say. You're on mute.
Yes, okay. Yes. You mean questions on the floor?
Yeah, or from you regarding that
okay.
snapshot.
Yes, okay. Well, absolutely. I think it was a very speedy and really nurturing effort to put together a Maxi nomination without too much time. It was not necessarily a short notice, but as we mentioned, the process takes a year or so, right? So I think we can do that now to have Puerto Rico again on the Maxi for next year. And of course, things would have changed and improved. Actually, we have found, and this is part of my question, Eliot, we have found that this particular methodology is very helpful, but we have to change the questions in the sense that the world and the cities have changed enormously in the past, 20 months, right? Not even 2 years. So one of the questions would be, Eliot, what would you change in that Puerto Rican nomination form as of your experience after this almost 3 years? Because as you mentioned, it was 2019, the one that we had the privilege to present. That's one. But what kinds of questions would you add to that particular methodology? And if you have any other suggestions, because you do have a lot of creative ideas. I know you are head of some kind of innovative unit there at your university. And as we mentioned, all the suggestions and observations on the methodology and the improvement of it, now that the world has really changed and the cities need to be in preparedness, as we say, city preparedness is one of the new variables in the Maxi nomination, etc. So what would you change, really? What are the challenges we have as from your standpoint?
Okay, so thank you for those questions. Let me start with the latter. I think that for Maxi to broaden its appeal, the way it's built, it seemed to me that it's more oriented from its inception, mostly for cities or organizations representing countries to submit their case for their particular country or organization that they represent. I would propose that Maxi opens a research category so that people like myself, who are basically scholars and researchers, I'm also in business, right? But in this particular instance, I was addressing this as a scholar so that we can formulate our proposals, and maybe instead of just having these variables touching on the specific variables that would distinguish this particular city or region, which aspects of knowledge production or the knowledge ecosystem would you analyze and develop? And for example, that's what I presented this morning in the other panel, right? The perspective from the entrepreneur. Because back in Tenerife, I analyzed the big picture. These are the programs there to support entrepreneurs. This time, the second part of my research was, what are the entrepreneurs doing, and how do they feel that the ecosystem works or doesn't work for them? How does the government, the universities, and so forth work for them? So I would advise Maxi to maybe the most admired research on knowledge cities or knowledge ecosystems, because it would be important to open that category as such, and it would be easier also to submit a project long form as opposed to just filling in blanks in a specific form. That you have to be very creative, right? Because it takes more effort to write succinctly something than to do a paper. But when you want to develop your ideas further, so that's why in Tenerife I also presented those two papers, because there were so many topics that we need to cover.
Right. Excellent, Eliot. Would you like to say some final words?
I just wanted to highlight that gave me the opportunity, working in Maxi gave me the opportunity to involve my students. I had a research assistant at the time, and that's how we managed to do this work so quickly. And this morning I neglected to mention also that I had 3 other research assistants who helped me in doing the research for this morning's second part on Puerto Rico as Knowledge Island. One final thought, and again, that came up this morning, and it's something that Gunter highlighted here on the chat of this discussion today. I think that there is great opportunity for comparative international analysis or research on knowledge islands and ecosystems. This morning, we actually presented the idea, which sort of subverts what's supposed to be done by researchers, right? Because researchers usually look from afar and try to analyze what's happening there, and we just either critique it or recognize it. But this morning, Gunter and Javier and I were chatting in that morning's panel, and we came up with the idea that maybe we can actually do research that also promotes economic development in knowledge entities. And I'm hoping that out of this KCWS, I can come up with the names and commitments of a couple of you interested in collaborating in doing comparative research and joint efforts, I should say, to have island economies connect to use the knowledge economy component to grow the economies of our different islands and regions. Maybe Maxi can be an instrument to monitor the impact of that effort as a regional collaborative effort to develop the knowledge economy in various geographies. So that will be my final thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliot. It's quite provocative, I should say.
Gracias.
But I also say, I dare to say, yes, you can count on Maxi being on board. We can talk about that a bit later.
Fantastic. I'll stay on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And now I give the floor to our dear colleague and host, gracious host, Anna Cristina Facchinelli. Dr. Facchinelli, the floor is yours. Tell us about the Bento Gonçalves case and actually, maybe most importantly, your experience of, I don't know, over 10 years maybe doing knowledge-based development. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Blanca. I will ask to Suelen to help me. Suelen will present. I prepared a little presentation in order to organize my ideas. And thank you, Suelen. What I'm going to share with you today are the experiences we have developed in the south of Brazil at the University of Caxias do Sul to support knowledge cities in Brazil, starting by our region. I'd like to start talking about some fundamental concepts we adopted in our research trajectory. We know that in order to raise the living conditions of the population, immaterial basic factors are fundamental, and therefore the prevailing postulates in growth theory are unsatisfactory to explain why the majority of the population lives in poverty and why inequality is so large between different countries and cultures. We think a greater understanding of how different cultures define the world in radically different ways and how they define what is beautiful or what is worth underpin the theory of value that relates to wealth and power and the nature of money. In this perspective, we move from a concept of production-based on aggregate economic output to a wider concept in terms of the total value generation in a given community where non-tangible forms of capital are playing a key role, the knowledge-based development concept. What I will present here are some of the studies we have developed in Brazil to better understand knowledge-based development at the macro, meso, and micro level. These studies culminated in the Maxi Award in 2019. So we started in 2011, we organized Knowledge Cities World Summit here in Bento Gonçalves. And after that, we reinforced our research. So in 2013, we aimed at identifying the unique characteristics and the potential knowledge leverage capabilities for planning the development of Bento Gonçalves as a knowledge city. This was the first case in Brazil where the generic capital system taxonomy was applied. This exploratory study carried out in a southern Brazil city, Bento Gonçalves, found viable economic development alternatives for communities with a strong cultural tradition deriving from the Italian immigration of the 19th century. As a result, the case analysis indicates that identity capital could be considered as an inducing factor for development, especially in social contexts strongly anchored in local culture. With this result, we were able to nominate Bento Gonçalves for the first time to the Most Admired Knowledge Cities Award in 2014. And we continued with our research. In 2014, with the capital system taxonomy adapted to Brazilian indicators, we aim to examine the correlation among the capital system categories and how each one impacts on HDI in Brazil. So we collected and examined data from many cities, Brazilian cities, and the capital system indicators were correlated, and multivariate linear regression was used to identify indicator loadings in HDI formation. So we could see that it was possible to predict HDI for each municipality with the results of this regression model using the capital system. So we could understand and confirm the influence of determined capitals categories over others. The next step in our research journey was motivated by the following question. Does what the data reveal about the capitals of a city correspond to citizens' perception of their value system? To answer this question, we constructed and validated a scale that allowed measuring the perception of citizens with regards to concepts inherent to each category of the capitals that compose the capital system. Particularly, we explored the relative dimensions of the sentiment of belonging and social integration, the perception of quality of life, the distinctive and integrative identity, intelligence gathering and sense-making, knowledge citizenship, human capital, productive capital, and so on. We collected data from 400 young citizens from a universe of 26 cities in southern Brazil. As a result, our study has shown that the identification of an integrated value perspective of the social life from the point of view of citizens is possible. The study also revealed that there may be differences between what the city's indicators reveal and the perceived value of the citizens. In Bento Gonçalves, for example, the best indicators was in identity capital, but when the citizen's perception of capital is evaluated, the greatest value is in relational capital, specifically social integration. This result has led us to focus our studies on the issue of the value context. We realized then that even with good indicator in some dimensions, citizens may have another order of preferences. We then analyzed a case in which a synergy occurred between local identity, value context, and economic development. This context was the Wine Valley region in Bento Gonçalves. This region has experienced an unprecedented development from a rural grape growing area which supplied to foreign multinational corporation in 1970 to becoming Brazil's first fine quality wine district with a designation of origin, approval, and extensive tourism. Initially, we investigated the relation between knowledge objects and agents within one context to promote the development of the region. The study shows the role of knowledge factors in the development of Vale dos Vinhedos region as a value context in Bento Gonçalves. So these researchers incorporated more and more information into the capital system of Bento Gonçalves. And so in 2019, Bento Gonçalves received the Maxi Award in the category of Emergent Knowledge Cities. Next, please, Swelling. This award is a confirmation of Bento Gonçalves' progress. It is relevant to point out that the university led this entire process. From the development of the studies to data gathering and preparation of the nomination document, researchers from University of Caxias do Sul carried everything out. So, the award had a positive impact for us by recognizing the importance of research for the city's development. Today, we are moving forward and we can apply the data model that we applied in Bento Gonçalves to all cities in Brazil. Here, in this point, is the main deployments of this experience. First, the data platform of Brazilian cities, next please, Swelling, organized according to the categories of the knowledge cities model, the capital system. More specifically, we set up an automated data entry system on a basis defined by the capital system categories. The interface is the friendliest possible because our intention is that our platform can be consulted by citizens who have different levels of familiarity with the technologies. Next, please. We want the citizen to visualize the capitals of the city, that the assets and liabilities are visible. In this way, the territory can evolve from the needs perceived by the citizens themselves. Next, please. And next. And next. In addition, we created a living lab, our City Living Lab, to develop research and innovation based on real-life circumstances in different dimensions that involve life in cities, such as health, mobility, economy, environment, urban planning, IoT applications for cities, city preparedness for climate change, and so on. As Glenn said about Arequipa, in 2011, we were a group of 5 people, and today we are more than 30. We have a research group in a master's and doctoral program in administration, and we have the first doctoral thesis produced in Brazil on the theme of knowledge-based development. Furthermore, knowledge-based development became one of the guidelines of the University of Caxias do Sul. So, to finish, it's important to say why we are working so hard with knowledge, starting by data and information. In Brazil, as well as in some other countries, especially in recent years, we have been subjected to narratives constructed to support ideologies and country idea that justify them. But the facts and evidences tell other stories. So what we are looking for by our work is to facilitate the access of citizens to the information of their cities so that they can visualize their set of capitals, particularly the assets and liabilities of the cities. Secondly, we believe that this application can also be useful to public agents for city management based on their value system. So this is our story. Thank you, Blanca. And we are looking for the question.
Thank you for sharing just part of the story, but a very thrilling, very exciting to hear part of your journey, knowledge-based journey into what is a reality today. We will share that with our students. We actually, after this panel, we will continue with our class. So, but definitely, I would just request maybe just as a starting point for what is next for us. Could you define the role of the ethnologue, the person that is, part of the intelligence of the wine industry in the case of Bento Gonçalves? What happens to that role as you move into the future, I would say? Can you tell us about it?
Well, the wine industry in our region is a cultural product, I could say, because we have the wine industry because we have a very important immigration wave. In fact, in the second half of the 19th century in Brazil, in the Emperor Dom Pedro II sent his envoys to Europe with the mission of attracting Europeans to establish new colonies in the south of Brazil. And the immigrants came with their knowledge. And one of the knowledge was the wine. They started produce wine, and nowadays is a very important source of economic results, but also social and integration and sense of belonging. So this story is a reference for us when we talk about knowledge-based development. The knowledge is linked with our culture. It is a fact, and it leverage all the development in this sector. Very, very important. Thank you for your question, Blanca.
Thank you, Anna. I don't know, but I would like to ask Sue Ellen if there are other questions on YouTube or somewhere else. I'll also ask my my students if they have any questions on these particular presentations. And I think we need to finish by 1 o'clock, Anna. I think that's more or less the time. As you mentioned, we could take a little bit more, but let's see. Yes, there's a question here, Anna. I see it. Mm-hmm. It says, to all panelists and dear friends, what is the single main impact that Maxi has had in your city? I think that's a very key question. I think we have somehow answer to that in a way, but I don't know, maybe we want to hear the last words from you. What is the main impact that Maxi has had in your city? And there's two more, one by Eliot. I'll read it. Amazing contribution by the university, Anna. I agree. Love the leadership and the scholarly production derived from this effort. Yes, Anna, actually, maybe we want to comment a bit on this sustained long-term effort that your team, the students and the university, community-based university, have developed throughout the years. It's just amazing. I think it's worth saying. Eliot, you want to make a comment on that?
Yes, I think, I've been impressed the last couple of times that I've seen not only Anna, but the students she's brought to the different conferences and whatnot. And these are not just discursive efforts. I've seen a lot of quantitative, high quality work that they are doing. And in a way, they are modeling the study of the knowledge economy, not only for Brazil, but I think that it can be applied to many other regions. And I think that you guys are really leading in the region. Absolutely. In terms of your methodological models and your research. And it would be interesting, again, if we could collaborate in doing those comparative studies, because Latin America has a lot of things in common, but it's also like many different worlds, not even countries, worlds apart in terms of things relate. And I think that we are not even aware. We have a miniature version of that in the Caribbean with tiny islands, and some are Dutch and the other are British and the other Puerto Rican, and or even Cuba. Those are worlds apart. So by having a specific methodology to study all of us, maybe we can bridge the gap, and we can start to understand how we can pull together and make Mercosur more effective, or cross the bridge between the South and the Caribbean, because we could easily become the next European Union at the LATAM level.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree with you, Eliot. And I remember when I started in this world of knowledge-based development, one day in a conference, Professor Carrijo said, when the Industrial Revolution started in Europe, the poor countries stayed with the agriculture because Europe, it was something like that. Perdona, Javier, si no está correcto, pero in my mind,
innovation was limited, yes.
Yes, and Professor Carrijo said, now with the knowledge economy, we should avoid that for our Latin America, or something like that. And I keep that in mind, and we started 2 or 3 colleagues talk about knowledge-based development, but in our region, people didn't know about anything about knowledge-based development. So we should start produce studies, to have more credibility, you know. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, we could have more, we could be more visible and involve other researchers. And with the prize in 2019, we were in Florianopolis presenting our studies, and we were with a group of students, master and doctorate studies students, and they could see it was true, it was important, it was relevant for the world, and why not for us in our region? So to answer Professor Carrillo, the single may impact that Maxi has had in I don't say in our city, but in our community was the cohesion. I don't know, Blanca, help me if this is not a good word.
Cohesion, yes. Social capital, cohesion.
Yes, yes. And the motivation. And because of that, we are here today, because it's the same group that worked to be this event reality today. So I think we have the most important impact in our university, in our research group, and we can deploy that for our community with our now living lab.
Yes, Anna, thank you. Thanks a lot. And I want to read again another question. I think Sue Ellen had it somewhere in the, in the other chats. It says, great success in having your project with living labs in other places on the globe. It says, is it possible to link your project with living labs in other places on the globe? That is the question. I don't know if we can answer to that, but obviously the methodology has been touching many hearts around, and we are happy to say that we have visited your living lab, your city living lab, and we all obviously aspire to continue the the collaboration. Another question posted here. No, it's not a question. It's actually a comment by Eliot here. It says, Maxi help us create awareness, yes, of the knowledge economy value to grow the economy of Puerto Rico and to establish a new research line and collaboration effort among the university, trade organizations, and the government. Wow, that is some kind of impact, right? I don't know if you want to make any other comments, colleagues. I would actually try to conclude with what I perceived was your participation, and yes, you might agree to it. For instance, for me, what Glenn mentioned as the most impact from Maxi in your community, I think Glenn mentioned multiplication. I mean, going from 3 to 50, it's really something. And I think Anna also relates to that, the fact that more people become interested in the knowledge-based development research line is not an invention of a few. It's really something that actually creates a lot, not only of expectation, but a lot of impact in the long run. So that is something interesting. And yes, for Eliud, I think he's answering here the question, and I love it. I put the word awareness, this self-growing consciousness of what it is to be seen and measured, why not, on specific indexes that are created from the knowledge-based era. So awareness and all that. And Anna, you mentioned it, cohesion, social capital, and the incredible networks that have been developing all these years. Yes, you said it, and I want to repeat it, and thank you all for being here today. Because of Anna's and a small group of people who then multiplied and actually deployed, as you said, this kind of strong collaboration, values network, etc. Because of all that, and because of all these years, we are here today. And I'm very thrilled to say it, because you are hosting this Knowledge Cities World Summit because of that powerhouse that has been developing and been recreating these knowledge-based development principles. And that is not something small to say. It's a huge effort. It's also a huge adventure and a great journey. Thank you, because you have shared with us your knowledge-based journeys, and we keep that in mind for next meetings, for the collaborations we have suggested, from living labs to all these new categories in the awards, and also, of course, the collaborations of, as you mentioned, Eliot, comparative studies, which is actually something that helps us on the benchmarking arena that is very, very dear and known by the Maxi crowd, and we'll definitely write that down notes. I think this video will be available, right, Anna? Right, Sue Ellen, so we can share this and move on from that. So thank you very much for this opportunity, for your collaboration, and for the brotherhood and sisterhood that creates this kind of atmosphere. And thank you, Glenn. Thank you. I'm going to take one of those screenshots so that we actually remember this moment. It's an eternal moment for me, and I hope it is for you too. I'll give you a hug, and I'll see you next time. I'm sure I'll see you next time. Bye
Gracias.
for now. Gracias, gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, gracias. Chao.
Abrazos y
Muy
saludos,
bien.
colegas.
Gracias.